Hi, I'm Scott Engel, Managing Director of RotoExperts.com. And of course, as you know me by now, I am the king. I am fantasy. That's right. And I'm here with the Prince of Fantasy Sports. Maybe next in line to grab the throne. I don't know, Adam Ronis. We're here with this latest Roto clip to help you out with week 3. This is the Royal Tips for week 3. And at quarterback, I think we might disagree on something, and we might have a different view. Jay Cutler has gotten off to a hot start. I don't like Jay Cutler this week. Yeah, when he's hot, he's hot, but he's got to cool off at some point. He's streaky. I think it happens against Green Bay. Green Bay's got 10 sacks already, and Jay Cutler takes like 900 step drops. It's not a good recipe. I don't think they're going to be able to get the ball deep. I think the Packers are going to dominate this game defensively. I don't like Jay Cutler, but of course, and I don't have the vacuum here right now, but you can't look at it in a vacuum. It depends on who else you have, but I don't think Jay Cutler's his top start this week.
Yeah, I know you probably have Cutler ranked number 30th this week in your quarterback rankings.
32.
Okay,
Yeah.
close. I knew I was somewhere in the vicinity. It's not a great matchup, but I still think, unless you clearly have a better option, that Cutler is still a good start this week. He's been playing really well. They made great adjustments last week. When it looked like Cutler was going to run for his life and have no opportunity to throw, they went with short passes, quick screens. I think they'll adjust. He'll be fine. I think he still is a top 10 quarterback this week.
No, I don't. I actually seriously put him about 12th or 13th this week. At quarterback, a lot of people are dealing with problems, and some people really have to scramble. One quarterback I actually like. I think I got him about 17th in my rankings this week, and you can check it out on the exclusive Edge package. When the Jets and the Dolphins meet, you have to throw out all the trends, all the matchups. Pro football is a game of emotion. This game is going to be driven by emotion. I would not be surprised to see Mark Sanchez have a good game, and I would not be surprised to see Chad Henne have a good game. I think these teams can slug it out, or at least produce decent numbers. If you're absolutely desperate, why not go with Sanchez or Henne?
I could see, look, from Henne so far, we haven't seen the Dolphins throw a lot of passes. Last week, he threw just 15. I think there will be games where Henne passes a lot. Maybe this is the week. Certainly not a bad play. As for Mark Sanchez, I don't know. I still couldn't have a lot of confidence in putting him in my starting lineup this week. You'd have to be absolutely desperate. We saw in week 1 he was
Some
awful.
people are.
And in week 2 against the Patriots, that's a team that cannot rush the passer and is not a good defense. So I think Sanchez had the benefit of a great matchup and took advantage of it. I don't know if he'll be that fortunate this week against the Dolphins.
Okay, running back. Mike Tolbert gets a start this week against Seattle. We've seen Tolbert. He's strong. He's physical. He runs downhill, and he can probably punch the ball in the end zone. But don't start him over a more established running back, because when the Seahawks have time to prepare for him, he might not put up great yardage numbers. And you can't forget about Darren Sproles. I think there's going to be a split workload there. Also in Atlanta, Jason Snelling, who was a hot pickup this week. Michael Turner will play, but we don't know if he's going to be 100%, and I don't think the Falcons want to overwork him. So I think you're going to see a timeshare there that maybe makes Snelling a decent flex and Turner not a top 10 running back. How are you employing Tolbert and Mr. Snelling this week?
I think Tolbert's a really good play. Like you said, if you clearly have better running backs, then you go with them. But I think he's an excellent flex, and he might be a running back too in a lot of situations. And if you were a Ryan Matthews owner, I hope you were able to grab Tolbert, because he's going to be a good play. He's running very well. And even when Matthews comes back, he still might get some goal line carries, so he could have value for the duration of the season. As for Turner, in most cases, I'm going to put him in the lineup. It sounds like he's ready to go. Last week, they said he could have returned to the game, made the smart move being safe. But Snelling looked so good last week, and we know Snelling could excel if Turner were to go down and miss time. So in a deeper league, I think Snelling is a solid flex play this week, because he still might see 10 to 15 touches if they are conservative with Turner this week.
Yeah, and hopefully, Turner's okay. I wouldn't call him a top 10 start this week. And don't overrate Clinton Portis just based on the matchup this week. Don't use him over a top running back. You can't overanalyze the matchups. We say it all the time.
Certainly, I agree with you. And look, Portis last week had 2 touchdowns. It was a case of the Redskins offense moving the ball and setting him up for 2 one-yard runs. Portis doesn't look great. It's a great matchup against the Rams, but don't boost them to top 15, top 20. There's still a lot of better running backs out there, so keep that in mind. Don't always look at the matchup. because that it doesn't always play out like
You
that.
sure about this? Because you were kind of like
No, I'm
stuttering and
sure.
stammering there a
Portis
little
is
bit.
not a top
You
20
sure
running
about
back this week.
Okay.
He's not a top 20 running
And
back.
wide receiver Steve Smith of the Giants is off to a slow start statistically. But hey, buy on low and before the game if you can make a trade. That's a heavy pass rush that Eli Manning is going to face this week. I think he has to get the ball out quickly to Steve Smith.
Man, I tell you, so many people are panicking right now about Steve Smith. It's 2 games. He's still getting a lot of targets. I know Hakeem Nicks is the guy that they look for in the red zone. Stay patient with Steve Smith. Like you said, it could be a lot of quick passes this week to alleviate the pass rush that Eli might see. So you could see Steve Smith roll up 7, 8 catches this week.
And the other Steve Smith, everybody's overreacting to the quarterback change because of Jimmy Clausen. But even experienced and bad quarterbacks, which Clausen isn't, he's inexperienced, have to complete their passes to somebody. Steve Smith has always performed well with guys like Matt Moore, Jake Delhomme. He's always put up the numbers. We've already seen it this season. This guy can catch a slant and take it to the house. Don't worry about Steve Smith and the Panthers.
I totally agree 100%. And people still worry about it and they panic. And they do a good job of getting him in the slot, getting him the ball in space. He can make things happen. He's been doing this for years. He hasn't even had a good compliment on the other side or a tight end, and he still puts up great numbers. There's no need to worry. It can only get better. It can't get much worse, as you saw with Matt Moore, who was atrocious.
Yeah, and he tells you there's no need to worry. You know what? I approve of that. My subjects, my children, listen to Adam Ronis. I'm training him. He's coming up in the Royal Kingdom, and maybe one day he at least might be at the side of the throne.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
It's always going to be my throne. I'm Scott Engel. I am the king. I am fantasy. The Royal Tips every week. See you next week.